to? And what did this world do to you? What will it take to get you through? And how long has this had a hold on you?
Hello, good day. Welcome to another edition of Addicted to. We're going to get connected with a continuation of my podcast with Frank here. So, welcome back.
Thank you, sir.
So, on the last show there, we were talking about, the people end up in prison, and you did too. But how did you come out of all that? After you came out of Claire's home, you said that what really made a difference from you, and then you were fighting to get your son back, and you managed to get that. So,
it started when I left Claire's home. They gave me the tools to believe in myself. They gave me a thing called strength. And with that, I was able to navigate what I really wanted to do for my kids. And at the time, we only had the one, but they made it easy in the concept that when I was there, I wasn't judged, right? I was treated as if I was one of them. And so when I left there, I had that belief that I belong. And I was lucky. I met a gentleman at an age one time that was able to get us into new housing. And he believed in us. He believed in me. And it's just choosing the people that you want to have in your corner, right? You had to put the past aside. And that's hard to do when you're in Calgary, because when any agency in the city of Calgary puts you into a residence for living accommodations, if it's in an apartment building, that agency has other apartments in there. And not everybody's on the same path. They don't want to recover, right?
Right.
Our system will help them get into a place, and they'll give them all the tools to go with. But it's up to that individual what they do. So if you're I moved into this apartment building, and the neighbors, I knew them, and they were still using. And so you had to shut the door on them, right? You have to be careful of who you associate with. And at the time, I was fighting with Calgary, child welfare in Calgary here, and they were monitoring what was happening with me.
Sure.
They were watching, like the drug testing, the pee testing and whatnot. Then, you had to do this here course there and that course here, and sometimes you had to repeat it, right? But you had to stay away from the crowd that was in that building. Your neighbors were the bad influences.
Right.
And it was difficult. It was difficult, but like I said, I had to believe in myself. I had to believe that what I was doing was for the good of my son, right?
And it's not just to say it people are using, grew up around those people, and again, they're not bad people. Your neighbor might say, "Hey, Frank, you want to come over for a beer?" He doesn't mean anything by it, except to be friendly. But, I just want to put the emphasis is so many people, like you say, they're always looking down on whatever individuals. But, I met some addicts that were really good, solid people, as long as there was everything there. Well, everybody will be not really reliable in the end. But
exactly. And that's the thing, because they were good people, but we'd all get our checks on the same night, right? And they would run out, their checks would run out within 24 hours. And then they would be knocking at your door. Can you help me? And they'd be standing there with the dealer right beside them. Hey, this guy's going to give me a cuff if you can help me out with a little bit of cash here and there. And I'm looking at this dealer that I'd known for 10 years, 12 years. And you just had to slam the door.
Yeah.
Right? If you don't close the door on your past, it's going to haunt you.
The wreckage of your past just keeps haunting you.
And like you said, it's not that these people are bad people, because they're not. But the drug has that influence on them that turns them bad.
And there is a camaraderie because, I mean, if you're sick and I'm sick, let's team up
Yeah.
and we'll see if we can patch something together here today, right? And there is, until we can't, and then there'd be a fight and it all turned bad when everything's gone, but that's another story. But
Exactly. I watched really good men sell their tools and say, oh, yeah, I'll get them back next week. I'll get the boss to bail them out for me or something. And then the boss doesn't bail them out after the third time. Right? Now this routine's getting too sour. Like, we can't do this anymore. So now the guy has no job. And he has no tools. And so where does he end up if he can't afford his apartment? Where does he end up? He ends up in the shelter. And yeah, the shelters are there. They're there to help people. But when you figure this out, you have a couple coming in from another province and they got no place to stay. And they're living at the drop-in center, for instance, there's always a dealer close to that door, always. So that man, his girlfriend is staying at the drop-in center all day, and he goes out and he works for a temp agency, all right? He's working for a piece of nothing. Like, they're paying a minimum wage, and he's doing the work of skilled labor most of the time. Anyways, he gets paid out that night, and he comes back into the drop-in center, and there'll be a dealer out there. Hey, are you looking? Do you want? Hey, whatever you need, I can get it for you. And after the fifth or the sixth time that man's coming in, all right, he's tired. He's tired because he's sleeping on a mat on the floor. His girlfriend's on the other side of the building doing the same. He's sitting at a table where thousands of men and women have done already. There's gum sticking to the bottom of the chairs and the table. It's not very comfortable. There's men and women there with no personal hygiene. His whole sense of belonging is going down, right? He's feeling
self-worth is non-existent.
And he's trying to save money to get out of there, right? But the food isn't quite up to their standards. So yeah, he wants to treat his girlfriend. He wants to make her feel comfortable. So he takes her out they're eating in restaurants here and there. So his money is not being saved up as fast as what they want. And he's coming through that door every day, and somebody's asking him if he wants something. So he can have one bad day on that job. And he comes in through that door and somebody says, hey, you need anything? And he breaks down.
Yeah.
He breaks down because the system wasn't there to hold him. All right? We can look into our shelter systems and we got all kinds of different people from every part of the world in there nowadays. Right? And they have addictions. Right? We don't have the staff on there that understands each other. Right? Even if we did. All right? How are they going to reach out and help them? We don't have the funding. We don't have the right treatment centers set in place, right? We don't have them there anymore. We used to have a place called the Booth Center downtown Calgary, run by the Salvation Army. I spent lots of time there. And I didn't mind going in that door because the men and the women behind the counter, they were recovering addicts themselves.
So they understood.
They understood. They had that compassion and that knowledge of what you were going through. They could reach out. They could listen to you more and feel for you more, all right? Today, we have kids coming out of colleges and universities, all right? They have to do so many hours before they get their diploma. So let's put it, you get a 46-year-old man coming into the shelter, drunker than 40 arseholes, right? Staggering and slurring his words. And you got a 19-year-old little 120-pound girl standing there telling that man where he has to go and lay down, where he has to sleep. This is what you're going to eat. Do you think it's going to work? It's not going to work.
No. They're on two different wavelengths.
Two different paths. As soon as he raises his voice, she's terrified. She's backing off. And as soon as he sees that he's got ground, he's going to follow her. He's going to keep knocking her down,
Yeah.
right? Not intentionally. He didn't want to be a bully, but he didn't want to be pushed around either.
Exactly.
And that young lady who doesn't know his issues has no concept of what he's gone through in his past.
He's angry.
He's angry. He's
And
frustrated.
he doesn't know how to deal with it.
No.
And she's timid and doesn't know how to deal with him.
Yeah. So now we got security being called. All right. So what are they going to do? They're going to put the man back out in the street.
Of course they are.
Yeah. That's what happens. And then he goes to another shelter. And it's there again. It's another recycling thing. Back and forth, back and forth. The system is there. Changes are necessary, right? I'm applying to go to school so I can become a peer support worker.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I did my application yesterday. And this is so that I can go and work in these shelters. All right. I know the feelings. I know the emotions. I've been there. I've lived it. And if I can prevent anybody from going down that path, that's what we want to do.
It is.
But the system needs to change to make everything change, right? We need more funding. We need lots of more funding. We need better education for the people that they hire. And we need a safe place. All right, we need a place for where the people are going.
How do you think we get there? What kind of a model do you think would work?
You know, this is the thing. So many people that have worked in the industry, right? Like there's a really great gentleman that in from the cold. I got nothing but respect for. His name is Gary, and we need people like him, right? He's native. He knows how to talk to the natives, right? We need people with their cultures, people that, from their own, they have that culture. They understand the language. They might understand where you come from in a different country, and be able to say, what went wrong. Talk to them. We don't have time to talk to them. Right? Nobody wants to take the time to talk. If you're making $18 an hour, do you want to sit across the table from a drunk man slurring his words, spitting?
Yeah.
Right?
I hear you.
We need a safe place for these people that want help. They can go to and get help and have a door between them and the bad. Give them that luxury of trying and understanding. Coping with an addict isn't really all that hard if you don't read the book. Don't go by what they got in a textbook, because that's what these new counselors are. They're a textbook copy of what they have been taught in that university or college. They don't have the street smarts. They've never been there, right?
What's your take? Again, like I'm doing this podcast, I'm not for or against anything. Just gathering information. But I'll tell you this one thing. I mean, I spent some time in Vancouver, and I was actually in Vancouver not that long ago. I went to see Elton John, and I saw the signs on the sidewalk. You could walk right in and buy the hard drugs.
Yeah.
You could buy the cocaine, whatever.
Yeah.
But more people were dying.
Yeah.
So I don't really think that really solved anything. What's your view on? I mean, the safe sites I can get so that people aren't getting AIDS and whatever. But
we need a safe consumption site regardless. All right, like if we had 2 of them, 3 of them in Calgary, to target those areas, specific areas, like Forest Lawn used to be really bad with Dover. All right, Marble's really bad today. Downtown's always had that image.
Yeah.
Right? But now, like it doesn't. We have it over in the west end of the city now too. If there's a C train stop, we have an issue.
exactly.
The thing is, our government doesn't want to put out the money. And then if they
But
do...
they're spending it on cops,
Oh, they're spending it...
EMS,
Yeah.
and hospital.
Yeah.
I think our premier gets it because she says, you know, it's landing on the doorstep of the emergency, and that's the most expensive care there is. So I think she's trying to put together a couple of places, one in Calgary, one in Edmonton, when there's going to be a couple hundred beds. There's going to be some monitoring.
Yeah, I think that's a really good start. It's the foundation for a big beginning.
I think it is too. I mean, she seems to think outside the box a little bit and trying something new.
Yeah. The thing is, there again, the nursing staff coming out of the universities and colleges that are put into these here places, they're not trained on it. We have a place called the Alex Health Center. Beautiful organization. They work mostly with the homeless. All right, they deal with people with addictions. And then they do the most important part over there. They have the youth department. All right, and you can go in that building anytime, in that side of that building, because they're separated. And they would have a dozen kids that are living on the streets, coming there for help. We need more organizations like that, all right? We need more people that are trained in places like the Alex. People that go to the Alex, they might be green, they might not understand it, but within a few months, sitting beside somebody who does understand it and watching the patients coming in and out, they learn. And from there, they should be put into the regular hospitals and understanding it there. Because when you go to Peter Law Heat on any given day, we got them, they're sleeping on the chairs inside the lobby. One, it's warm, they're out of the weather, right? And sometimes they're there for a detox.
And when you're saying, because I've never really had any experience, so it's lucky, but when you're, say, at the mustard seed or whatnot, is there any access to any counseling, any psychologist, anybody that can say, you know, kind of work through any of your issues?
All right. They have counselors. Yeah, they have counselors. They're kids coming out of university and college, and again, it's a textbook for them. All right. They're reading from the textbook. They don't have the life experiences. They don't have the life skills that are on the streets. All they have is what somebody wrote in a textbook. Because
what you were describing on the other show, on how a young girl at a party is feeling isolated, and how that, I mean, you speak from experience.
I've seen too much blood and guts out there. I've seen so much ignorance and heartache.
You know exactly how it comes about.
Yeah, I've seen it in the parks where it used to be back behind Fort Calgary, where men would come in and sell their nieces to a drug dealer.
And the reason I know, you know, because there was a Dr. Gabor Mady. I don't know if you ever heard of him. He's in his 80s. He's worked the front lines of East Vancouver for years. And he says that he's never met a female addict that wasn't sexually abused.
Exactly.
That was one of the first things I have ever heard him say.
Yeah.
And so to hear you put all that together, how it actually happens, just really turned a light on. So that's what happened. Because women are, you know, are offered whatever a guy's willing to, you know, like we've often joked, they can go to the bar with $5, come home drunk with 20.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, if they come home.
If they come home, and that's not the joke. Because I mean, we've all, you know, I've got a daughter, and nobody wants to see that.
I grew up with 5 sisters, and yeah, but I've seen my niece in Ontario where she ended up down there for a long time. Yeah, it's not a pretty sight thinking. And you don't think about it as being your neighbor's daughter or somebody at the time, but it's there.
It is.
It is. It's there. And we have predators out there that know how to coerce these young ladies. All right, they know how to talk to them. They know how to flash them. All right. There used to be a young lady. I called her Orphan Annie. She was down the streets. I met her. It was 2 feet of snow back behind Fort Calgary. And I was coming across the field, and I just happened to bump into her. She was curled up in the back wall of Fort Calgary smoking crack. And she says, hey, I got some stuff here for sale. Right on. So I sat down and got talking with her. And I hung out with her quite a few times. And on several occasions, I would give her extra money so she could reload because, you know, she might have smoked her profits. And, yeah, I watched her get beaten one night because of that. Called her Orphan Annie. I took off to Winnipeg. And that was because there was another young lady in Maxwell Park that they found cut up. Her parts of her body were all over the place.
Wow.
From Maxwell Park right down to the zoo, I think they were finding pieces of her. And I came across a knife in the park one night, all covered in blood, and it hit me hard. I left Calgary for 9 months. I went to Winnipeg. I don't know if they ever found out who did it or not to her, but that is the scenario that we have so many women. It happens to them. All right, and nobody knows.
They disappear.
They just disappear, right?
And everybody's like, well, it's just another crackhead. So
she probably moved on to another city, or, you know, nobody ever thinks, hey, just something wrong happened to her.
Do they keep track of anybody
I think
at the drop-in centers? Do they ever?
I really don't think they do, because they have such a high volume coming in and out of transient people. Calgary's a transient city.
It sure is, because I mean, you're on your way to Vancouver, or you're on your way back over to Ontario, or whatever.
And,
right?
you know, and the thing about it is that we don't have a Greyhound anymore. They're going across Canada, so most of these ladies, they're hitchhiking. Right?
I hitchhiked through here when I was 18.
Yeah, I remember hitchhiking a few times through Calgary over the years.
I almost got busted because you're not allowed to hitchhike
In the city limits.
in the city limits.
Yeah.
And I was 18 years old, and I remember thinking, so you're going to bust me because I'm poor. What kind of sense does that make?
Yeah. I got picked up on 16th Avenue there by
Peters?
just by Peters Drive-In, but right across from it was at the Ambassador Motel.
That's about where it happened to me.
I was coming in, I rented a room there because it was pouring down rain. I was coming out there and put my thumb out, and I got busted, picked up. And they took me right up to the ski hill and dropped me off.
At least I was lucky. I had an angel, a city bus driver, opened the door and said to me, my buddy, hurry up, get in. I said, I don't have any money. I don't care, he said, just get in. The cop car was right behind him. He says, you're going to get popped. We jumped in, and he drove down across the Deerfoot. It was right by Peters Drive-In. I remember it. And then he was explaining, he said, now you're going to go down the road and you're going to find a truck stop. And he was talking about Strathmore. And he said, you hang out there. He said, sure enough, there'll be a truck driver that's looking for some company. Yeah. And he'll take you, he'll head east. Yeah. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I was going west when that happened to me. And this cop picked me up and gave me a ride, escorted me out of town.
Like, what a thing. You're not allowed to be poor in the city of Calgary.
Yeah. So it happens out there all the time, I guess. But that, the same spot.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's true. You're either going east or west.
Yeah. And we don't have a Greyhound bus running anymore.
Even when we did, I didn't have any money for that shit, man. I had a duffel bag, and I probably didn't have 5 cents to rub together. So what was I going to do?
Yeah.
I was knocking on the back of a KFC door to see if I could get some leftovers, and sometimes they'd have mercy on you, and they'd...
Yeah.
People don't understand. I had another friend of mine, and he was on the streets, and I hitchhiked, and I didn't have any money. And the light went on for me, because it was about freedom. And I can understand that if people are sick and tired of life, and conforming, or they burnt their bridges with their families, their addiction has taken over, then they could just say, the hell with it. And I'll wake up when my eyes pop open, and I'll go to sleep, and then in between I'll do whatever, and I don't have to conform to anything. I can see them just saying, basically, fuck it.
You know, and there, you guys said something right there, and it's very. I was going through my divorce, and I was fighting custody for my kids. And I'm in the courthouse fighting for custody, and everything in my past it was brought up. It was on, like the judge first said to me, I first walked in there, this is exactly what she said to me. When they said, all rise, and she says, Mr. Anderson, I'm reading this on you. And she says, why are you here? And I said, I'm here for my children. And she says, why? She says, I'm reading this. She says, you'll never have your kids. Your kids will never come to live with you. Look at the mess you've created in your life already. Right? And I'm devastated. But it didn't stop me. I just kept on going back to court. I kept doing these courses over and over again. But while I'm doing this, I'm watching other men coming in and out of that courtroom. All right? And they're being knocked down. They're being kicked. It didn't matter how much good they were trying to do. Somebody would find something bad to say, or, you know, there'd be a story written up. I was put in jail at Christmas time. They said an EPO on me. This is 2 days after I went to court, and I had granted my kids to come with me for Christmas holidays. Then all of a sudden I got an EPO put on me, emergency protection order, and the police came into my home. They took out all my working tools, anything that was sharp in a knife form, and I was roofing at the time. They was all taken out of my house because all she had to say is, he threatened me, or I think he's going to kill the kids. Then they put an EPO on people. And now this is the same thing happening to all these other men in the courtroom. There's a big line of prejudice. And then you wonder why they end up on the streets, right? Number one is they're spending 2/3 of their week in the courthouse trying to navigate through all these rules and regulations. And then they're getting knocked down for doing that. They lose their jobs. They can't afford a home. They end up in the shelter. They're depressed. They end up doing drugs.
You know, I mean, you touch on a good point, and I'm certainly not defending the guys that do the domestic violence at all.
Oh, anybody who hurts a woman or hurts a child, all right.
And there are deadbeat dads, and there's everything else, but I can relate to it because I can tell you, as we're sitting in this home that I'm grateful for now, I was working for a huge company. I made $1,000 a week take home. And when I split up, I was ordered to pay $2,900. I didn't even have enough to rent an apartment. I said, how am I going to, have my kids over? That's not our problem, and everything else. So you bring up a good point. There's a lot of prejudice, and we are beaten financially and emotionally downtown.
Yeah.
Court of King's Bench, Court of Queen's Bench, whatever they want to call it. And something's got to change there too, because I think we've lost a lot of good men from desperation coming out of that place for sure. That's not got anything to do with fairness.
The system doesn't work, and it creates an addict.
Right? It does. It does.
I got to the point where I was going to the courthouse almost once a week. 53 times I went to court.
53 times?
53 times. And the guard, all right, the sheriff I take off my jacket and my boots and everything. And he said, when you get done today, Frank, he says, come on down. He says, we'll have a coffee. I made friends in the courthouse.
Because you were there so much.
I was there so often, but they didn't see me as a threat. And one day...
Well, you're not. You're trying to get your kids back.
And one day I was late getting into the courthouse. And I came running in, and there was a long line up, and this guy seen me. And he says, come on over here. And I went through where the lawyers and the police officers go through. He says, go on in there. He says, just get. They trusted me at the end. They knew me so well.
Yeah.
And that creates something that's inside of you that if they have that on you, if they believe in you that much, then you know you're going down the right way.
They do. They steal your self-dignity in your paycheck.
Yeah.
and they cut you down till there's almost nothing left, and that's ruined a lot of guys. Now, I've also heard, and I don't want to sound bitter, I've accepted it and dealt with it. But I've certainly heard on the other side too, some of the women that didn't come out so good either. So I think that system can churn out ugliness on just about anybody that steps foot in the place, right?
I lived over in Chinook there in one of those apartment buildings for a while when I was fighting custody. And there's a lady in the building behind me, Calgary Housing, and she had 2 daughters. And she was a working girl. Everybody knew she was doing her drugs. She was out supporting her habit by going on the streets.
Working.
And those 2 kids, everybody knew about it, and nobody stepped in to do anything. And then there's another guy who lived in my building who had his kids for a night. Right? And he went out in the parking lot after they went to bed to smoke a joint of weed. And they came in and took his kids away from him. Meanwhile, she's up there in her apartment smoking crack. Yeah, there's a big line of prejudice.
There is, and something has got to be done. The biggest problem is, like, even when you were bringing it up, I could feel myself kind of hesitating, because if a man speaks out, well, you're bitter, you're resentment. You know, I've dealt with all that, and I'm sitting in a beautiful home, I've got a business and everything else, and I've dealt with it.
Yeah.
But if you want to raise my blood pressure, you just mentioned Court of Queen's Bench or lawyers, and you know, we'll be wound for sound in no time. Yeah. But I've dealt with it, and the thing is, you know, a guy is damned if he says anything. I mean, you know, you don't want to come off as being resentful and hateful, or you're angry towards women. Most guys I know still want to have a relationship after. They just want to be treated fairly.
That's the whole thing about the whole system, period. Like, you being an addict, or living in a shelter, or living in your home being an addict. You want society to look at you as if you belong. I wrote another piece of work a long time ago. It was called Hi, I'm Your Neighbor. And it basically was, you know, I could come and cut your lawn for you. I could pump your gas for you today. All right, I can work through a temp agency, and you would refer me to your neighbors to come in, your friends, to come and work for them. Right? You would have all these positive things to say about me. But then that night, when you see me behind a dumpster with a lighter, flicking a lighter in my hand, you slander me, you kick me, you knock me down. I did you justice, I did you a good job. But yet, at the same time, you kicked me, you hurt me, because I'm an addict. And it went on, I am your neighbor, right? And it's the truth. In every situation, in the courthouse, that's your neighbor, that lawyer, that crown, that judge, you're all neighbors, we're all in the same city.
And I will say this, again, without prejudice, is I've known a lot of good men who are doing like you're doing. You've got 3 sons, you're going it alone. It's too bad your ex didn't make it, and I feel sorry for that. I never met the lady, and I certainly don't wish her any ill. It's too bad your sons lost their mother, and I mean that sincerely. That's
Thank you.
That's a shitty thing for them. But you're a good man for going through all of that, keeping the wheels on the bus. You get up, you go to work every day. You did a great job on my fence. I'm grateful for it. And you know, keep on rocking, Frank. I mean, you're doing good now. You're raising those boys, and you've got nothing to be ashamed of, my friend.
Thank you. Oh, there's no reverse. There's no reverse. Everything here has to go forward, because it's not about me. It's about them. At the end of the day, everything is about them. And if I can wake up every morning knowing that they got groceries in the fridge and clean socks to put on, I'm happy.
That's all you need.
That's all I need.
God bless you, man.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Yep.
Well, that's all we got for this one. You guys take care.